So hey everybody, how you doing? This is Jonathan Lipp here. I'm the director of the Big Apple Film Festival here in New York City. And here in this segment we call BAFF Chats, Big Apple Film Festival Chats. We like to talk about the industry and sort of how it's changing and how it's evolving. And one of the main things that I think a lot of filmmakers are dealing with right now, especially because there's so much content out there, is self-distribution. How to put your work out to the public without having to go through the typical Sundance channels or South by Southwest and the typical mainstream festivals and go through distributors and really put the content there on your own. And for me, this is something that I look at and research quite a bit. And I would say in the last few years, one of the best examples of this is a film called Bill W., which is a documentary about the founder of Alcoholics Anonymous. And the filmmakers have done a wonderful job at finding their audience, addressing their audience, promoting it, and really putting it out there in their own way, without any interference, and as true independent filmmakers, but as true independent distributors as well. So I'm here with Kevin Hanlon, and he is one of the filmmakers from the film Bill W. And I would like to just ask you a few questions. And one is, first of all, did you have self-distribution as your plan prior to even making the film?
That's a really good question. I would say no, we didn't. First of all, I have to say we never made a film before. We were first-time filmmakers. So first of all, we had to figure out how to make the film. And I'm not sure if we really had a plan for distribution in the back of our minds in the beginning. We originally tried to do the thing that you were just talking about, which we submitted to several festivals, the whole usual circuit of festivals. We got into 2 or 3 festivals, but there was none of that attracted a distributor for us. So at the end of the day, we were kind of left with the option that we could distribute it ourselves. Was really the only option that was left for us. So that's what we did.
I would say probably the most common way that independent filmmakers are distributing their work right now is online. Yeah, they're using the Netflix and IndieFlix and Amazon Prime and Snack Films and etc., Film Buff, and all of these online avenues. But you guys, even self-distributing, you went theatrical. What was the reason for that?
I'm not sure if there was a good reason for it, but we thought that we might have some success at it, mainly because of the topic of the film. The film we made was about Bill Wilson, the man who founded Alcoholics Anonymous, and we thought that there was a possibility that if we tapped into that community. Now, neither one of us are members of AA, and so we learned some things going along about how that whole community of AA in the recovery world works. But we actually found a distribution company, and they made contacts with theaters for us. And the way it worked was we started in LA and New York, and I think the theater owners were surprised at how packed the house was. And you used the word grassroots a minute ago. This was really a grassroots operation because it's a funny thing, particularly with Alcoholics Anonymous. There's a tradition in AA that they don't get involved in outside issues. So we had to be diplomatic in certain ways as how we approached it. But basically, we got the word out among members of AA, and it started to spread that way. And once it did, we held in New York for 8 weeks, and I think we held in Southern California for 11 weeks. And that really, then if you go to other theaters and say, look, we've got a full house for, most nights going for 8 weeks in New York, that gets people's attention. But what that meant for us was that we had to roll the film out ourselves across the country. So we were in LA. My partner on the film, Dan Carasino, lives in Southern California, and I live here in New York. And so he covered that half of the country, and I covered everything east of the Mississippi. And it was sort of city by city and theater by theater. But the distribution company would get in touch, and as the numbers began to, hold out, it was that much easier to get other theaters to sign on. And we did really have a remarkable success with it. I mean, I can't remember exactly how many theaters we played in, but we were, I think, in the top 12 grossing documentaries of 2012, and we were the only film that didn't have a distributor.
Were those four walls? Did you rent those, or
No, we started in the very beginning. We four-walled the first couple of theaters, but after a little while, we didn't need to four-wall anymore because we were able to demonstrate that that we were getting that buzz, but we had to. We had to get the word out city by city too. So we had people in our office in Southern California and here in New York mailing out flyers, and Facebook was enormously helpful to us because obviously
I'm a fan of yours on Facebook.
no, well, thank you. Yeah, and we had fantastic people working for us who set that up and did a great job managing that and getting the word out. I will caution anybody thinking about doing this that it's not inexpensive. And at the end of the day, we really didn't make any money on it. I mean, we certainly didn't recoup the cost of the film because if you want to do what we did, you wind up running into a lot of hidden costs. There's advertising costs. It's a funny thing, the theaters sort of flip the split on you. If Sony Pictures has a film at an independent theater, Sony gets 70% and the theater keeps 30%, but with us, because we were independent, they kind of flipped it around. So we weren't even getting, in most places, we weren't even getting a 50-50 split. So I think we were probably, if you're talking about films that don't have a major distributor behind it, we probably were in the, maybe the top 10 all time that ever did that, but it didn't, we didn't make money doing it, so that's a note of caution. However, it did get word out about the film all over the place, and it was a great way to have the film viewed.
Did you have the your niche audience in mind prior to making the film? Was that something that you had thought about before even going into development?
That's a great question. It was a bit of an open question for us, and I think it was really midway through the editing process that we knew we had to make a decision, and we started to tailor the film for the niche audience. Now, I personally believe that the film has appeal beyond just that because of the nature of the story, but I'm the filmmaker, so maybe I just see it that way. But I'm not a member of the niche audience. I'm not an alcoholic, and I'm not a member of AA, and I thought it was a fascinating story. But saying that, it's still true that there's no question that the majority of the people that came to the theaters were, somehow from the niche audience, both AA and people in the whole field of recovery from addiction.
And let me just ask you: the majority of the people that watch our video podcast here are emerging filmmakers, people who are just coming up, just trying to start out. You guys have come a long way. You've booked theaters across the country. You've gotten a name for yourself. But if you're just starting out, what advice would you give to a new filmmaker who doesn't have anything nearly like what you guys have? They've got their film, they've got their DVD. What advice would you give to them in terms of self-distribution? Because I don't know if you agree, but I think self-distribution is almost a necessity these days. Considering the fact that there's so much content and so few distributors comparatively. So what advice would you give to an emerging filmmaker?
That's a tough question. I mean, I couldn't agree with you more that going forward, for most filmmakers, they're going to have to consider self-distribution. It's very, very hard to get a distributor, and if you're not making a film out of Hollywood, that's a very, very difficult thing to do. It can be done, and some films do it, but the majority of people making films are probably going to have to find a way to distribute it themselves. I don't think we would have had nearly the success we had if we didn't have a niche audience like the one that we had. So I think it depends a lot on the type of film you've made. I think it depends a lot on what your subject matter is. I can't say that I would recommend doing this, taking the path we took to everybody out there, because I don't think it would work very well. I think an awful lot of films book a theater in LA and New York because they want to be considered for the Academy Awards and all of that. But most of those films play for a week or two. And honestly, most of the credit for what we I think, has to go to Bill Wilson and to, the people that feel the way they do about having been able to get sober in AA. So, bearing that in mind, and also considering how very expensive it was, I mean, we did have enough money in the budget to get going and to do the upfront costs, but I would say you should be really careful about looking into that and weighing what the economics are, because it's tough. It's very expensive, and at the end of the day, you're almost certainly not going to make a whole lot of money doing what we did.
Well, great. Yeah, you guys are comparatively to the amount of independent films out there, you guys have done an amazing job. And I'm just extremely impressed. I've been following you guys for a while. So great job coming out, finding your audience, targeting them, booking those theaters, and doing it your way. And that's a huge inspiration.
Let me say one more thing. I'm not trying to discourage anybody. If you think you have a film that you want to make and you're passionate about it, that's what matters most. And I encourage anybody to do that if they want to do that.
At the end of the day, it's an art form, right?
And it is, and each film probably has to find its own best path to distribution, and I think it probably varies greatly from film to film.
Yes, indeed. Well, Kevin, I want to thank you so much for speaking to us and enlightening and inspiring our audience here. And we certainly strongly recommend seeing Bill W. It's a great film. It's very inspirational, and it really makes a really good statement about what's going on in the world today. And I think there's probably millions of people that can relate to it. So, thank you so much. And what's the website if people want to?
The website is Page 124 Productions. That's Page PAGE. The number is 124 Productions, and you'll be able to see the film via the website if you want to do that.
Awesome. Thank you so much. We appreciate it. Thanks.